The idea of the title of this video came entirely from a comment on my Dani California analysis video. And also in my quite recent DL4 video I got reminded about this cool idea, which really helped me to prioritize this idea. And I'm really grateful for all this input because I had no idea about this and I got really curious about trying it out. But before I jump into trying it out, I like to step back a little bit and explain what the idea is. Starting from the basics. In the song Dani California, in the verse, the guitar got this filter effect. And the idea behind this effect is that you have a low pass filter like this Moogerfooger, and this cuts out the high frequencies and let the low frequencies pass through, like I illustrate with this EQ here. And then you have the resonance knobs, which amplifies the frequencies right before the attenuation of the higher frequencies. And then you assign an LFO in the form of this CP251 to the cutoff knob of the low pass filter, like this. And this LFO, meaning low frequency oscillator, turns the cutoff knob with a certain speed, which is controlled by this knob, and over a certain range, which is controlled by this attenuator knob. And that creates this wobble kind of effect. And now the idea is that you can recreate this effect with this delay pedal, the Line 6 DL4 that John used a lot for delays in general, but never, as far as I know, for the Dani California filter effect. And this delay pedal has many different modes, which recreates famous vintage gear. But one of these modes, the sweep echo mode, is actually a Line 6 original. And when I read in the manual about this effect, I didn't really understand exactly how it works. It mostly just says that this gives a sweeping effect. So what you do, according to the comment, is to set the delay time at 0 because we're not interested in the delay, and the repeats are set to 4. But I found that it doesn't really matter where you set it as long as you don't go past 8, because then you start to self-oscillate. And then you have the tweak and the tweeze, and the tweak in this mode adjusts the sweep speed. So you can say that it corresponds to the rate of the LFO. And then you have the tweeze, which adjusts the sweep depth. So you can say that it corresponds to the attenuator knob on the control processor, or the LFO. And then you have the mix knob, which I guess is quite self-explanatory, wet and dry, which you got on the low pass filter as well. So yeah, what I will do now is to first play the Moogerfooger version of this filter effect, and then play the DL4 version of this effect. And then I will redo it, but with a lower mix setting, and I will also try some other settings for the low pass filter, because I believe John switched those settings a little bit from time to time, although I'm not entirely sure about that. And on the DL4 I will also have a lower mix and also set the repeats to 0 to illustrate that I don't really think it makes that much of a difference. So I'll play that now and then I'll evaluate on what I think. So overall, I'm actually quite surprised how well the DL4 performed, considering it's just a delay pedal. But if you get into the sound and the tone of each pedal, I found that the Moogerfooger sounded really warm and organic and pleasant, while the DL4 sounded a bit bright in a harsh way to me. And another thing I found was that to me, the DL4 sounded a bit distorted, especially compared to the Moogerfooger. And you may think it's because the drive knob was set quite low, but you have to keep in mind that the drive knob is active in the chain all the time, even when the pedal is bypassed. So because of that, I will now redo the same thing, but with a lower level on the level control knob on the chorus ensemble. So maybe that didn't make a huge difference, but I think the DL4 sounded slightly better in that. And I actually did another recording where I lowered the level even more, but then I found that the tone became way too clean in general, and you can't really use that tone for the rest of the song really. And even though you could hear less distortion on the DL4 in this sound example, I still think it do sound a bit bright and harsh compared to the Moogerfooger. And I think the Moogerfooger sounded quite good with both higher and lower gains, so my conclusion then is that this can handle different levels of gain better compared to this with these specific settings. And I think the Moogerfooger sounded quite good both in the higher gain and lower gain version. So because of that, my conclusion is that the Moogerfooger handles different levels of gain better in this particular example. So my final verdict is that I'm actually really surprised how well the DL4 performed, considering that this was not made to be used in this way in the first place. And also, if all you want to do is to be able to get this specific sound effect for just one song, then this solution may be good enough compared to getting this and the control processor, for example. But at the same time, I think this sounded a lot better because this is actually made for this kind of effect. So if you really want to get that tone down, and if you can see yourself using this in other contexts as well, it could definitely be worth investing in this or maybe another low pass filter solution. So to put it short, I'm really surprised how well the DL4 managed to recreate this effect, but it's definitely not ideal. So now I'm really curious about what you think about this comparison. Do you think this is a good enough of a substitute, or do you think you should try to get the real thing? Yeah, and now all there's left to say is thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.